The tranquil town of Danby, Vermont, was a place where life unfolded with predictable rhythms. Neighbors knew each other, and routines were etched into the fabric of daily existence. For George at 76 and Catherine Peacock at 73, days were a comfortable blend of routine and quiet companionship. George still held a part-time job at the Rutland Travel Lodge, a testament to his diligent nature. He would pick up a copy of the Rutland Herald newspaper every day without fail. On Sunday, September 17, 1989, an unsettling disruption shattered this tranquility. George, known for his punctuality and unwavering commitment, didn't show up for his shift at the Rutland Travel Lodge. This was highly unusual. Concern rippled through the hotel staff, leading them to contact Lorraine, a friend of the Peacocks who happened to be staying at the lodge. Earlier in the week, there had been other small, almost imperceptible shifts in their routine. George hadn't appeared at the local store to pick up his newspaper on September 13th, a habit he maintained daily. He had also missed a doctor's appointment that afternoon. These small deviations, at first dismissed, began to accumulate into a growing unease. Lorraine, accompanied by a neighbor named Jay, drove to the Peacock residence in Danby. As they approached the house, they saw the Peacock's car in the driveway and a light on in the living room. Yet, all the exterior doors seemed to be locked. Jay found the garage door opener inside the unlocked car. This allowed them access to the garage and, subsequently, to the house through a basement access door that appeared to have no lock. Inside, a grim discovery awaited them. At the foot of the stairs, George Peacock lay almost face down, slightly on his right side, his legs curled in a semi-fetal position. A large pool of dried blood beneath him spoke volumes. Multiple marred his chest. The scene suggested a violent struggle, one that had begun at the top of the stairs and continued downwards until his death. His back pocket, where he typically kept his wallet, had been slashed open, and the wallet lay rifled on the floor nearby. Further into the house, Catherine's purse was found emptied. However, beyond these immediate areas, the house didn't appear ransacked. Jewelry remained in place, closets were untouched, and dresser drawers unopened. This suggested that a typical burglary might not have been the sole motive. Detective Sergeant Robert Jalbert of the Vermont State Police arrived at the Peacock residence around 9:40 that morning. Crime scene technicians meticulously documented the scene. A bloody footprint was found on the carpeted stairs leading to the second floor, along with blood spatters on the stairwell walls. Blood was also discovered on both sides of a door leading into the bedroom where Catherine was found. Catherine Peacock had also suffered to her chest. Curiously, there was no visible blood on or around her body, nor any sign of a struggle in the immediate vicinity where she was found. Her clothing, including her bra, sweater, and cardigan, bore no knife marks. The medical examiner later determined that both deaths were homicides. Catherine's death resulted from multiple to the area over her heart, directly to her heart, liver, and diaphragm. She also had bruising on her temple, the bridge of her nose, and near her left kidney. George's autopsy revealed 7 to his chest, which damaged his ribs, sternum, lungs, diaphragm, liver, and other internal organs, along with injuries to his scalp, hands, and back. The medical examiner concluded that the murder weapon was likely a single-blade knife with a thin, narrow blade, or a double-edged blade, approximately 5/8 of an inch wide and slightly longer than 4 inches. It was believed the killer both George and Catherine while standing behind them. Of particular note were hairs found in both of George's hands and additional strands on the carpet beneath his body. These were carefully collected as evidence. The autopsies indicated that the Peacocks had been dead for several days, aligning with the last confirmed sighting of George mowing his lawn on September 13th. News of the double homicide quickly spread through Danby and beyond, sparking fear and a heightened sense of caution. Many residents, already on edge due to a recent string of break-ins in the area, speculated that the murders were a botched burglary. However, the lack of extensive ransacking and the absence of forced entry suggested a different scenario to investigators. George and Catherine likely knew their attacker and had allowed them into their home. The Vermont State Police began their extensive investigation, focusing on those who had access to the Peacocks' home. Their 3 adult daughters, along with their husbands, traveled to Vermont to meet with investigators on September 18th, the day after the bodies were found. One of the daughters, Penny, arrived with her husband, Michael Anthony Louise. Detectives noted that Michael and Penny had driven a rental vehicle to Vermont. Michael, who worked at a car rental company, explained that while they sometimes rented larger vehicles for visits with Penny's children, this time he chose a rental car because he was concerned about driving his own car. Investigators quickly identified Michael Anthony Louise as a suspect within about 2 weeks of the murders. The evidence against him was largely circumstantial, but it pointed towards him. During questioning, Michael's statements to the police raised eyebrows. He recounted having left some particle boards at the Peacock's home in Danby years earlier and decided to drive his Chevrolet Celebrity in that direction on the day of the killings, around 9:30 a.m., to retrieve them. He claimed he became tired and returned home to New York after reaching a rest stop in Saratoga, New York, around 2 p.m. However, a statement from Michael's niece, Patricia Gannon, contradicted this. She recalled a conversation with Michael where he described driving towards Vermont and blacking out after crossing the border. This directly clashed with his earlier assertion that he did not travel to Vermont on the day of the killings. Adding to the growing suspicion, Michael's wife, Louise, provided police with 2 notes Michael had left her shortly after the Peacocks' deaths. Police interpreted these as suicide notes. In them, Michael professed his love for his wife and asserted his innocence in the murder of her parents. He reiterated his story about driving to Vermont for particle boards but becoming tired and returning home. He also expressed fear of being blamed for the murders and stated he didn't know what to do, mentioning that he threw one gun into the river. Penny gave police written consent to search the couple's Chevrolet Celebrity. Inside, on the driver's side floor mat, a single drop of blood was recovered. Despite the circumstantial evidence and the presence of the blood sample, forensic technology in 1989 was not advanced enough to establish a conclusive link. The initial DNA testing of the blood sample was inconclusive, and without direct evidence, the case grew cold as years turned into decades and the double murder of George and Catherine Peacock remained unsolved for over 30 years. In 2020, the relentless march of scientific progress offered new hope. The Vermont State Police decided to reopen the investigation, driven by significant advancements in DNA testing technology. The crucial piece of evidence was the blood drop found on the floor mat of Michael Louise's Chevrolet Celebrity. The new analysis brought a breakthrough. The blood sample was tested, and it revealed a definitive DNA match to George Peacock. This was the conclusive link investigators had been waiting for. It provided direct evidence, placing George Peacock's blood inside Michael Louise's car. On Thursday, October 13, 2022, after more than 33 years, Vermont State Police detectives, with assistance from the New York State Police, arrested Michael Anthony Louise in Liverpool, New York. He was 79 at the time. A Vermont court issued a warrant for his arrest on 2 counts of second-degree murder in connection with the deaths of his former in-laws. Louise agreed to be brought back to Vermont, where he appeared before a judge. The state of Vermont argued that the evidence against him was strong enough that he should remain in jail without bail until a trial. However, the judge found a problem with how the blood sample was tracked. There was no testimony or official statement from the New York trooper who initially collected the floor mat, and the lab records only vaguely described the evidence. Because of this, the judge decided that the direct DNA evidence connecting George Peacock's blood to Michael Louise's car could not be used to justify holding him without bail, and the remaining circumstantial evidence wasn't enough to keep him in custody without bail under Vermont law. Despite this, the judge still considered how serious the charges were, the fact that there were 2 victims, and that Michael Louise didn't have strong ties to Vermont. These factors suggested he might try to leave. To ensure he would return for future court dates, the judge set his bail at $200,000 in cash or a bond for that amount. As of now, a trial has not yet occurred in the case of Michael Anthony Louise. The legal proceedings are continuing, with the case still making its way through the court system. The journey to justice for George and Catherine Peacock, after more than 3 decades, continues to unfold in the courtroom.